Welcome back, and thank you for sticking with us during our technical challenges. We are going to share with you now a little bit about the Great Hearts Academy's prep schools. Again, this is our virtual open house, and we're so glad that you've been sticking with us tonight. My name is Marilyn Papke, and I'm the Senior Vice President of Business Operations, and I'm really excited tonight to introduce Brandon Crow, our Executive Director of our upper schools. Brandon, thanks so much for coming tonight. I think one of the things that are on top of mind of families everywhere is COVID and what schools are doing to help minimize the risk to their student. And obviously we care also about minimizing the risk to faculty. Can you start by sharing a little bit about the safety measures we've taken to prevent the spread of COVID?
Sure thing. Yeah, I mean, we've had our schools open now for about 3 months, and have really been able to keep spread or contamination at a minimum, and it's due to a number of things. I think one of the things, of course, is masks, which we'll talk about in a little bit. The second is that we have very thorough cleaning protocols, both before school and after school from our cleaning companies. But then also we have students frequently using hand sanitizer. We have teachers and students wiping down desks. And then we've done a lot, especially in our upper schools, of cohorting students. That students are with the same class or same section or group for the bulk of the day. And so the main idea there is to prevent spread should there be a case. So that if there is a situation in which someone is positive, then the number of people they've affected or with whom they've been in close contact is a limited number, not scores or even hundreds of people the way that you might have in a typical school. Those are just a few of the things that are really important.
That's really helpful, I think, for our families to hear. But we also know that it's just hard to mitigate an opportunity for someone to come to us with a positive case.
Right.
So can you speak to what happens once we are alerted to a positive case
Sure.
situation?
Yeah, and it is something that over the last 3 months we have experience with. So when we're alerted of a positive case, if it's a student or a employee who's on campus, that person leaves immediately, and then we begin convening a COVID response team that involves at the school the headmaster, a COVID response coordinator, a nurse, and then we also have a whole team at our network level, a director of nursing that works closely with Maricopa County Health, in addition to several other stakeholders that really work on a case to identify who are close contacts. And there's a very specific definition of what a close contact is that the CDC provides. So we follow those guidelines and figure out who has the student or the employee been in close contact with. Then we also set up a really thorough additional cleaning regimen. We contact and then quarantine, according to CDC regulations and health department guidance, anyone who's been a close contact. And so what we've seen when we do that is that while it is difficult to remove people from the work or the learning environment, by doing that it prevents spread. And we've been really successful at that over the last 3 months in our 23 schools in Phoenix.
That's right. It's such an important point to say that we have been very fortunate on the minimal amount of cases that we've experienced. But you've touched on, and obviously we're wearing our masks. Right. Can you talk a little bit about the masks and our mask policy
Sure.
in our upper schools?
Yeah, and one thing I failed to mention, but we've done a lot of work with over the last 90 days is a pretty thorough testing regimen. So we have a partnership with a lab in town who provides testing to all of our employees, however often they want it, and then also we can refer families to, and we do very often. So when there's a positive case, we can have that lab even come out and do swabbing and testing for families and employees that are interested, and then turn around very quickly. But in addition to the testing, we have the masks. And so we do have a mask policy that requires anyone on campus, employee or faculty, staff, visitor, student, to wear masks and to wear masks the duration of the time that they're in the building. And so of course we know that I can keep a mask on for a long period of time, but that's hard for a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old. So of course students can take masks off when they're alone, if that's ever the case, if they're outside playing by themselves, but that might be rare. They can eat, they can drink, they can take it off. And students, of course, need little breaks, and especially at our elementary level, they have these desk shields that protect them and insulate them more At the upper level, though, people take breaks, they're cognizant of it, but it really is a situation, and like we're having tonight, people are wearing masks the whole time. And even with teachers, we have circumstances where teachers, we know that, especially a French 1 class where you're just trying to make out what the sound is, let alone read the voice. So we have face shields that the teachers can wear while instructing, clear masks, all sorts of ways to be able to keep the safety and the barrier of the face covering, but not interfering educationally.
That's really important, and I think something that a lot of parents probably haven't thought about is the way in which we educate. We do need to see the mouth, especially if you're learning a new language. So that's really interesting, and I'm glad you called that out. I think probably the only other thing that I would ask that you share with families is we've heard a lot in the news about other districts choosing to stay remote, or starting but now going back and being remote. Can you speak a little bit to why Great Hearts made the decision to stay open?
Right. Yeah, it's a really good question. It's been a difficult one that we've wrestled with for many months. And at the end of the day, we've just seen time and time again that spread to children with children in schools is really at a minimum, and that what we value chiefly is students' well-being and health all around. So that, of course, has to do with COVID and keeping distance from that. But it also has to do with their mental health, their ability to just academically strive and achieve, their physical well-being. And we see that schools are a place that can be checked, it can be improved very regularly and adequately. And so our work has been to try to do our very best to set up mitigation strategies and testing, and to be alert and aware. And if there is a problem with a school that either operationally it can't function because so many people have been put into quarantine, or that if there does start to be an outbreak in consultation with the health department, that we do close the school for a period of time while it can stabilize. But at the end of the day, we know that families come to us because they believe it's best for their kids to have opportunity to be with other kids, with teachers. And so if they want to do that, and they don't want to take advantage of our online program, we want to offer that for them because we think it's best. And so far, like we said, over the last 3 months, it has been very successful, very healthy. We've put a lot of people into quarantine to be safe, but at the end of the day, we and with our families and parents see how good this has been for students.
That's excellent. Brandon, thank you so much for sharing that really pertinent information with our families about COVID. And certainly if you have additional questions, you can always reach out to the academy that you are interested in applying to. So thank you very much for coming tonight, Brandon.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Marilyn.
Again, I want to answer some of our frequent questions, which are, how do I improve my odds in receiving an offer after I've applied? And we've said, you can apply to as many academies as you are willing to drive to. That does increase your odds of receiving an offer. And then once you do, please do accept it. If you receive multiple offers, please decline the additional ones after you've accepted the offer at the school of your choice. That opens up the opportunity for more families to receive offers and join us at Great Hearts Academies. Again, you can submit an application at greatheartsamerica.org. And now I'm pleased to present our headmaster at Glendale Preparatory Academy, Kyle Navarrete.
Hey,
Kyle.
how are you?
I'm well, thank you. Thanks so much for coming tonight. I would really like you to talk about the transition from elementary to middle school. That's a big jump for a lot of students, and how we typically handle that here at Great Hearts.
Yeah, and I'm going to speak probably in a little more philosophical terms, but the transition is challenging. They're going from an elementary school where they're with one teacher in one room all day, but we definitely believe it's worthwhile because it leads to maturity and growth. What is essential, I think, to the transition is trust. We place a lot of trust in our students. Particularly, we place a lot of trust in that they will have the right attitude, that they care about learning, they want to be part of our school. It is a school of choice. We know parents make the choice, but obviously students too want a really great education. We trust they'll have humility to know that they don't have it all at this point. They need to learn. And then if they're unsure or have questions, that they have that humility to ask. We also trust that they'll learn to manage their time. They're going to 6 different classrooms, 6 different teachers, lockers, homework, passing period, lunch, and they then have extracurriculars on top of that. We also trust them to uphold standards of moral character. Middle school is a time where the teacher isn't around in the classroom. Students are left with a lot of freedom, and so we're expecting them to uphold good moral character, and if they see a peer who is lacking in that area, to find a way to encourage him or her. Most schools, I think maybe all, I'm not sure, have a mentorship program, which is really designed specifically to help new middle school students get acclimated to the prep experience. And what's really special about that mentorship program is ordinarily it's upper level students, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade students, who have an immediate and existential connection and experience with what it is to be a middle school student, learning all the procedures, rules, and expectations at a school. And it's really great to see the older students come alongside and mentor some of the younger students.
That's a fantastic program, and it really does make it much easier on that transition. So thank you for sharing that. Can you also give our viewers a little bit of a snapshot of our curriculum in the prep school?
Yeah, I think what's important to know when you consider a Great Hearts education, particularly at the prep school, is that the curriculum or the course of study is prescribed. We believe that as a network, there's a certain course of study, certain classes at certain ages that all students should take, that is the foundation for what it is to be an educated young man or woman. And so it is prescribed. Students don't have a lot of choice, and that's not because we believe in limiting their freedom, but we believe certain courses are best for them to take at certain times. It's only in high school that students can choose to continue in a foreign language in the classics, continue on with Latin and Greek, or they move on to a modern language, and depending upon the school, it can be Spanish, French, or German. Some other schools might have others. I know at Glendale Prep, we just have Spanish and French. And then something we brought in maybe 2 or 3 years ago were senior choices, where really when they become a senior, they take humane letters, which is a combined literature, philosophy, politics, history course, and then a fine arts, and then they can choose from a number of classes. So it really is a prescribed course of study, and so I think that's the one thing parents should know, is that they might come in believing, well, I want my student on this track or that track, and we are a publicly funded school, and we've come up with a program that we think suits all students best.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that. I guess probably the last thing I would like for you to share with our viewers is, what are the expectations we have for our prep students?
And again, I'm going to speak a little philosophically because each school has different concrete expectations, but I would say this: we expect students to care about and live according to virtue, that they actually care about truth, beauty, goodness, but also some of the other virtues, wisdom, humility. We expect them to uphold human dignity and respect themselves, their peers, their teachers, and the discipline, the actual courses they're taking, to respect the tradition. We expect them to participate. This is one thing when I give a family a tour. What's the greatest expectation? Well, as a middle school, high school student, at most schools, it's 20-30% of a student's overall grade is participation. We expect them to hold to the principle of being a lifelong learner. Everyone in the network, our teachers, are lifelong learners, and we believe this emphasis on participation will lay a foundation for becoming that lifelong learner. And then finally, we expect them to love what is good and to love their neighbor. We're a community built on love. So sometimes education is viewed as a means to a practical end. Students get a great education in high school so they can get into college so they can get a job so they can make money so they could spend it, and that's the good life. We reject that notion. We believe the good life is built upon universal truth and a goodness by which every human should live.
That's really wonderful. Thank you so much, Kyle, for being here tonight and sharing this information with our families. So for those of you that are hanging with us and have prep students, remember that you can submit an application at greatheartsamerica.org, and for any of our grades 6 through 12. If you have a student in 5th grade who is wanting to go and is already enrolled at a Great Hearts Academy, you need to re-enroll and register your 6th grader into the prep school. That is one requirement. So again, if you have a 5th grader who is currently attending an Archway program, or a 6th grader in some of our schools, they will have to apply to the upper school at their current location in order to receive an offer for that prep school. And so right now I want to also share with you, when will I receive an offer? Again, we talk about that our process is that on January 20th at noon, offers will begin. Again, don't be concerned if for some reason you don't receive an offer right away on January 20th. We will continue to make offers as seats are available. And once you have gone through the lottery process and have a wait list number, you can always check that number on the parent portal for Great Hearts Academies, and that can be found at parentportal@greathearts.schoolaccess, which is AXIS.com. I know that's a mouthful, so again, that's parentportal@greathearts.schoolaccess.com. I am now pleased to have us joined by Kristen Wagner, who is a Humane Letters teacher at Glendale Preparatory Academy. I think probably Humane Letters is the one program we get so many questions about. And so can you give us a little bit about what's so unique about our Humane Letters class?
Sure. Well, one major thing, if you entered a Humane Letters classroom, you would, at our campus, enter a room with a large square table, students seated around it, and all they would have open in front of them is a book. That book might be Homer, it might be Shakespeare, it might be Willa Cather, but they'll have their book and they'll be talking to each other about the book based on a question provided by the teacher, but that question is almost the full amount of what that teacher provides. It's not a traditional instructional classroom. Instead, students are the ones doing the talking. So that in itself is just very unique and different from a traditional instructional format.
I understand it's 2 hours. It's a 2-hour block. And can you speak to why it is that that course takes 2 hours?
Sure. I mean, today I was sitting with my 10th graders around the table as we were reading and discussing Hobbes, which is 17th century English and not the easiest thing for even adults to read. And to have a conversation which both went at the text in order to do justice to it and understand the complexity of just simply what's being said, and then to have a secondary conversation about the actual philosophical ideas behind that, and to give students the time to breathe and think and put those 17th century words into their own. That takes time, and it's not the kind of lesson planning that we do by timing every 5 minutes. It's a very kind of adult setting that students are invited into.
That's really wonderful, and I'm sure it takes a little bit of time to acclimate a student in that realm of, wow, I'm not moving every 20 minutes or 30 minutes. You've mentioned a few through your explanations of the curriculum, but can you give us a better idea of some of the works that our students are going to be reading in Humane Letters?
Sure. In 9th grade, they start with the American tradition, and so that includes Henry David Thoreau and a number of other authors who are actually from the last century and a half, 2 centuries. In 10th grade, they focus more on modern Europe, that is after the year 1500. So that maybe starts with Shakespeare or Thomas More's Utopia and goes forward all the way to Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky. 11th grade focuses on the ancient Greeks and Romans and the ancient Hebrew scriptures. And then by 12th grade, we sort of rewind, start way at the beginning with Virgil's Aeneid, and go all the way up through to the 19th century and end with another novel by Dostoevsky. So
wow,
kind of covers the broad scope.
It certainly does. And I guess probably one of the best questions I can ask you is, what's your favorite book to discuss with your students?
Easy answer, no hesitation on my part at all. Crime and Punishment by Dostoevsky.
Oh, just a little light read.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. It keeps them on their seats.
That's wonderful. Kristen, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight a little bit more about our Humane Letters course. And again, if you have additional questions, you can always reach out to the Academy and speak with the headmaster to get those answers. So Kristen, thanks again for coming tonight.
Thank you.
You might hear that Great Hearts is, we feature the great books. And great books serve as our foundation to the Great Hearts program, and that's through K through 12. These are the works that have stood the test of time as an exemplary example of beauty, eloquence, and the impact on history that these books share with our students. The authors of these classics teach us how to question and think deeply about the world around us by addressing great ideas such as justice, liberty, equality, truth, beauty, and goodness. Whether it be through philosophy, through literature, poetry, or drama, this is what our Great Books curriculum provides for our students. Now, once you've heard a little bit about what the curriculum is, you've heard a little bit about Humane Letters, I'm happy to introduce you to Catherine Sarbacher, who is a college counselor at our Glendale Preparatory Academy. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us. I think one of the greatest secrets that needs to be told citywide is the job that our college counselors do for our students. I think it's a well-known secret. So can you tell the viewers tonight a little bit about the college counseling program and how it works?
Sure. Our college counseling program actually starts technically in middle school. So once your students start to come to one of our academies, the college counselor will do usually a middle school parent night or some sort of an information session with both parents and students to kind of share what college counseling is all about at the academy. At Glendale Prep, we'll oftentimes really focus on how the student can be the best student, how the student can learn to study, learn how to learn, so that they're going to optimize their opportunities once they get to high school. So middle school is really a great opportunity for students to figure out, and sometimes they stumble and sometimes they have failures, and that's okay because they need to learn from those. So part of our college counseling focus is really to help students kind of get through that process in middle school. Once they're out into regular high school, they'll go into 9th grade. We start having parent nights, 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, all the way through to get the students prepared. So in 9th grade, what you'll find is a lot of times this discussion is, again, about being a great student, learning how to focus, talking about college and opportunities, because our goal is really to find the best fit. And that fit is really individual to each student. So it's not about sending all of our students to the most selective schools. If that's what a student is fit for, then yes, we most definitely are geared towards that, or a military academy. But we also have students who opt to go to a trade school, or they opt to go to an in-state school, and some go to a community college. But really it's about what the students' goals are. And we start that in their freshman year. Onto their sophomore year, we start to talk a little bit about test prep, what the standardized tests are, the SAT and the ACT. And then as they move into their junior year, we're really focusing on getting them onto college campuses and going to visit colleges, having discussions. We have many, many school representatives come to our campuses to speak with the students and really interact with them and share what's unique about each college so that the students can really identify where their best fit is. And into the senior year, which prior to senior year, we really try to get all of our students already applied to all of the in-state schools so that they can hit their senior year really ready to tackle any essays or personal statements that they might have to fill out for their applications and get them really in a position so that many of them actually know that they've been accepted to some of our best in-state schools by usually beginning of September at the latest.
Wow, that's really impressive. And you mentioned it earlier, but it really is all about the right fit. And I think what you're sharing with us, right, is because of the multiple contacts that the college counselors have with our students, the ability to find that fit is really unique.
Yes, I would agree. I would agree.
Catherine, thank you so much for sharing our college counseling program with our families tonight. I wanted to just share with you and make sure you get a slice of the results of what Catherine's just shared with you. Our college counseling program has produced a graduating class of 2020 that earned more than $44 million in scholarships this past year. that 97% of our students went on to immediately onto college campuses, that 52% of our students actually are pursuing degrees in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and that 75% of our students received merit-based scholarships. We know how important college is to families and students, and we want to make sure that we prepare them as best as possible, and our college counselors are wonderful. That program does all of that great work. I'm now happy to introduce a gentleman who's very busy from sunup to sundown on multiple fields across the city, our athletics director, John Rickey. John, thanks for coming tonight.
Hey, Marilyn, how are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Hey, can you share with our families a little bit about the accomplishments of our teams so far?
Yeah, even just this fall, actually spanning back to last year, we have about 31 seniors that signed with colleges to go on to play, that are playing this year.
Wow.
Currently, whatever that looks like currently.
Yeah, good point.
Last year, and I had to write this down because I'm never good with numbers.
I understand.
We had 2,339 high school athletes.
Wow.
And we had 3,675 middle school athletes playing for us last year.
Wow, that's
So
fantastic.
that's very large. That's a very big accomplishment. The other thing that we've already done this year in the fall sports is Scottsdale Prep won the girls swim and dive. They're the state champions for that. Veritas Prep is the boys state champion for cross country.
Wow. That's great.
And we also have Anthem Prep just lost in the 1A volleyball finals on Saturday, but we also have Trivium is actually going to be playing Chandler Prep in the semifinals for 2A on Saturday.
Rivalries.
So we will have a Great Hearts team in the 2A volleyball championships as well. So a lot of great things are going on, stuff like that. And we have a lot of individual accomplishments just from the fall, but so many that's hard to name. So I only have 5 minutes. So,
yeah, I was going to say, that's impressive given the situations that we've all been in terms of the COVID. So the changes in our practice routines and all the safety measures, again, that we have taken for our athletes to maintain their safety. So congratulations.
We've done a great job on that. So it's all coaches, all parents, all athletes. It's been great.
That's
how
wonderful.
safe we've been with that. So
That's wonderful. Can you talk about some of the sports that we do offer for students?
Yeah, and I think this is neat because we have a little brochure that says come and coach with Great Hearts, and I made sure that we put a football player on that brochure because it's like, wait, these are classical education, and you're playing tackle football. I mean, that's very exciting for a lot of people. So we do offer tackle football. We offer cross country, girls volleyball, beach volleyball in the spring is a big thing here in Arizona.
Right.
We have basketball, soccer. We also have track, very robust track programs. Just a lot of great different things, tennis, golf, things that you can think of. And Chandler Prep actually does wrestling, which is really exciting too. So
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think we've heard a lot about our curriculum and about our educational program, and some parents are probably hearing that and going, wow, how do you balance that with my student who really wants to play athletics? How does that work?
yeah, so this is really interesting. So when I started at Great Hearts, I was a teacher and the AD at Glendale Prep, and this was 13 years ago. I had a lot less white hair and stuff like that. But and right when we started, there were some studies done through Veritas about how students do while they're in a sport. And what they found is that they were actually doing better in their studies because they only had a limited amount of time to get those done. And I always thought, well, that's great, and I could see that from my own students. But I have two boys who go to Glendale Prep, and they are multi-sport athletes. They're playing a sport every season, and whenever there's a lag time, I can tell that they're not doing as well in their studies. And for me, it's something where an athlete really understands what time management is, and they understand that I only have an hour and a half or 2 hours after my practice and before I have to go to bed. I'm going to use that time very well. They go to tutoring better. they engage themselves better, and we have found that they do better in those scenarios. So.
Wow. Thanks, John. That's really
Yeah.
important because I think it is a question on most parents' minds. Like that
Oh.
balance is really important.
I would get questions like that every fall from parents, and they're valid questions. So,
I certainly understand
Yeah.
that. Well, thanks so much for sharing about the athletics in our prep schools tonight. I know lots of parents had questions around that, so thank you
Yeah.
so much.
you're welcome.
I just wanted to share with you that, did you know that Great Hearts Academies surpass the best public and private schools in academic outcomes, in students' moral formation, and co-curricular participation? We prepare our students and our graduates for success in the most selective colleges and universities, which right now you are seeing the impressive results of. On the screen right now, you're looking at the list of colleges our students from the class of 2020 were accepted into. Again, a follow-up to all that great work our college counselors have done with our students. You can get this education for your own child, and the way to do that is to start by submitting an application to greatheartsamerica.org. And now it's my pleasure to reintroduce, if you've been staying with us this evening, our National Director of ESS, or Exceptional Student Services. Tom, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Could you explain to our families who have joined us a little bit later, what is ESS?
Yeah, so ESS is Exceptional Student Services, and it is the program that provides all of the supports and services for students with disabilities or who have other learning challenges. And ESS plays a really critical role in the mission of Great Hearts, which is to make this classical liberal arts education accessible to any student, to any family that wants it. And so it's a really important part of our culture and our core.
That's great. Now, if I'm a parent that has a student that has an IEP, or I'm on a 504 plan, what should they do?
So when you're enrolling to our schools and your student already has an IEP or a 504 plan, what's really important is that you complete the enrollment paperwork really carefully, because there are questions on that paperwork that won't in any way alter or impact your chances of getting in, but communicate to the school, right, that you're applying to, that your student does have some learning needs or needs for support in some ways. And so carefully reading those questions, answering them faithfully, and then also submitting the documentation of the programs, like your child's IEP and evaluation reports, or your student's Section 504 plan, giving those to the school, the earlier the better, right, helps your school prepare to meet your child's needs. The other thing that I would say is really important is reach out early and make a connection with somebody on the campus, really the person who's going to be coordinating the services and supports for your child. Really supporting our students with learning needs through this rigorous curriculum is about parents building relationships with the school. And I can tell you the teachers and our coordinators for these programs, they want to partner with you parents in supporting your children so they can be successful. It really is all a part of making sure to bring them into the fold and provide them this classical liberal arts education.
That's great. I'm wondering, for those that are out in the audience that may not have a student that actually has a formalized plan, but their student really is struggling learning in the classroom, what can those parents do?
Yeah, so coming into our schools, you know your children best, and the first thing that you want to do is connect with your child's teachers. At the prep level, right, it's going to be a lot more difficult because your child has maybe 6 teachers, but it really is about letting them know, hey teachers, this is where my child struggles, but also making sure that your child's teachers know where your child excels as well. So then your teachers, the teachers of your children should know what are the programs or interventions or the other kinds of things that are available to all students that can help your child be successful as a precursor to maybe looking at whether or not they might need a plan.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much for addressing that. I guess my last question would be, are there any other words of advice for our families that are in this situation?
Yeah, I'll go back to the comment I made about building good relationships with the teachers of your children, the team that supports them. That really is going to be the most critical thing. to make sure that your child can access this classical liberal arts education. I'd also add that honey is always better than vinegar when it comes to speaking with your child's teachers, their coordinator, their administrators, things like that. It will always, always get you further. And the last thing that I would say is that you should prepare that this is going to be difficult, possibly for your child, the most difficult thing that you've asked them to do. I'll also add that I really do believe that it's worth that challenge, that it is through challenge that our children grow and flourish, and so I encourage you to take that leap.
That's really wonderful. Thanks so much, Tom, for sticking around and sharing information about our wonderful program. This is a fabulous asset that Great Hearts has. So
Delighted to. Thank you.
thanks so much, Tom. Now, one of the questions we get usually the day after open enrollment is, what, I forgot to put my application in. We all get busy, and we know that date's coming, and somehow we've missed that last day. So if you have missed the last day of open enrollment, you can still submit an application into the system, and it will be taken as a first come, first serve as seats are available. So again, if you miss that December 11th timeframe, don't be afraid. Please do continue to submit an application for enrollment. We just never know what seats are going to open up, but there's always opportunities throughout the year to join us at Great Hearts. And now I am very happy to introduce and welcome Sylvia Hayakawa. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good. This is our office manager at our Glendale Prep Academy. And, you know, we've been talking all night about open enrollment. So can you share with our families now what? What's the next steps that they should do?
Yeah, I'd love to. Well, all the office managers are so excited for this time of year because they get to offer seats for these families who've been sometimes waiting a long time for an offer. Right now is open enrollment, so right now is the time to take advantage of placing your application in. You can do that either by going to the Great Hearts website or to any of the schools that you're interested in, going to their website, and you'll find a tab to enroll. That's where you'll apply. And also, if you are interested in any other schools, the questions will ask you, what's your number one school, your number two, your third choice, your fourth choice, and so forth.
That's really helpful. Thank you so much. And as a prep school office manager, I know you get this question, but can you help parents understand that if they have a student that's attending Archway School, what's the process for them to get into a prep school or the prep school where they're at?
Right, so the Archway schools are the elementary schools, the K through 5th grade usually. And if they're planning on going further through to the prep schools, what they'll want to make sure that they do is also apply. They'll get a priority, a graduate priority, so they'll be towards the top of the list, but they still need to apply for that particular sister school.
Right. That's really an important step that some parents miss, so thank you for sharing that information. The next question that I would have is, obviously we've talked about offers are going to happen at noon on January 20th. Then what happens after I receive my offer?
So the offer will come via email to all the families. It'll give you information on what the next steps are. So it'll give you a cutoff deadline that you have to accept the offer, fill out the application, submit all the paperwork, birth certificate, and other items that are needed. As soon as you fill out all that information, schools sometimes will have different procedures to take all that paperwork for you. But as soon as that registration process is complete, then you have your seat. If you have any siblings, you'll want to make sure that they are noted as a sibling priority so that hopefully you get another offer for your sibling.
That's great. Thank you for that. And those are important steps for you to follow as we go through the enrollment process. So, Sylvia, thank you for sticking around tonight and sharing that with our families. This is a very busy time, as we know. And so, again, we want to share the important dates with you. That is, open enrollment runs through December 11th. Our lottery runs on January 19th, and offers will be starting at noon on January 20th. Applications submitted after December 11th are still active in our system, and they will be taken on a first-come, first-served basis. We really want to thank you tonight for sticking with us and enjoying the virtual open house. We look forward to you coming to a school soon as the situations change with the health situation in the community. And we just can't thank you enough for logging on and watching our virtual open house. I do want to share with you that if you are a prep student and if you're a family with a prep student, Scottsdale Preparatory Academy and Veritas Preparatory Academy, and I know it's late, are holding an information session directly following this presentation. You can go to their websites, scottsdaleprep.org or veritasprep.org, and look for, under the enrollment tab, look for the Zoom link. Press on, select the Zoom link, and that will take you to the post-info night with these two academies. Again, we sincerely